February Q&A. I never know if I say February right. You've got questions. I've got answers. Which brands are you the most excited for this year, and which brands are you the least? We are going into novelty season. I am feeling the hype. Tudor is celebrating 100 years since its founding, and I think they're going to celebrate in a big way. Nomos has been on fire every year, so I'm curious to see how they follow it up this year. Patek Philippe and the Nautilus turn 50. AP in general, I feel like they've been moving from strength to strength, and I'm curious to see what direction they're moving in. I was recently listening to an interview with Ilaria Resta, their CEO, and she was saying to expect more complications, and 2026 will be the year of the offshore. And, I mean, Rolex. If you lost all of your watches tomorrow, what would your first 5 purchases be? Now, how much insurance money would we have to play with? When I think of the watches I would miss the most and would feel a need to own again, it would be my FP Journe Elegant, Titleite only. I'd buy a mid-size Seamaster again, love this watch. A Cartier Tank. I'd maybe allot some of the insurance money to get a gold Tank Louis this time instead of my stainless steel Solo in this hypothetical exercise. Those 3 are like my base collection. Those are the ones I'm going to need back. Those are a little piece of me. I'd maybe add in a vintage Longines chronograph. I can't stop looking at them. I think they're so cool. And a JLC Reverso monoface rose gold. I am going to need a lot of insurance money to make these dreams happen. Why hasn't one of the other luxury brands made their own version of the MoonSwatch? Hublot or Panerai could do something like that. I think Swatch Group was uniquely positioned to do this in having Swatch, a company that specializes in cheap, fun, colorful plastic watches, and some pretty legendary IP with their subsidiaries. They already had all the right stuff. For Hublot, I can't think of an LVMH equivalent to anything like Swatch, and same for Panerai and Richemont. I also don't think Swatch expected this to be the smash hit that it was. They just happened to have all the right ingredients. Do you ever get sick of the pretentiousness around watches? I kinda hate it. My brother in Christ, you and me both, I think this is the number one thing that gets me down about this hobby. If ever I need to take a break from the watch community, this will be why. I think sometimes we need to take a step back. Remember, this is supposed to be fun. We're not saving lives here. This is supposed to be a joyful hobby. I think one of the other unique things about watches is that it also intersects with finances and how people feel about their financial life. And sometimes that can be touchy. If you were to pick up a Longines, which would it be and why? So easy. I love vintage Longines chronographs. I'd love to be a serious collector of these. If it had to be modern, it would probably be the Spirit Zulu Time 39mm blue. Why do so many brands, Nomos, Seiko, Hamilton, ignore improving their bracelets? They often don't taper nor have on-the-fly adjustment. Since a micro brand making a fraction of units and profits can do this, shouldn't it be even cheaper for the big boys to provide these updates? Okay, this is a big question, and the 3 brands given here, Nomos, Seiko, and Hamilton, couldn't operate more differently. Nomos is a small independent that makes about 20,000 watches per year. Seiko is a vertically integrated powerhouse that makes around 5 million watches per year. And Hamilton is a subsidiary of Swatch Group, so may have different financial motivations. But from there, you have even bigger brands like Tudor. They have all the resources of the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation, and they're only just standardizing the T-fit clasp in these last couple of years. To answer your question a little bit more specifically here, I think micro brands have the ability to reinvest almost all of their profits back into their product to do some of these more competitive things to build a bigger name for themselves than the mid-tier, mid-priced brands do. Around this mid-level, they need to decide where they are investing their money because they don't have the same margins as Rolex and more expensive brands. So, do their margins get invested in movement technology and innovations in that department, or bracelet and clasps? And a lot of the micro brands are using off-the-shelf movements, so that they are reinvesting in their bracelet and clasps. You have brands like Nomos, Movements. Movements is where they have invested insane amounts of money and resources into. And to have an in-house movement at this price, I can't think of anyone else who's doing this. Seiko, much more affordable, and I would still say movements again. Seiko has another weird layer in that their bracelets can't have more tech than Grand Seiko. Until on-the-fly adjustments become standard for Grand Seiko, I don't think they can be for Seiko. I just think clasps are a lower priority than other things. I wish they weren't. I love on-the-fly micro adjustments, and I think this is changing. I think consumer expectations are getting higher in this regard. How can I get watches I love with hand-painted dials that are truly rare? Well, funny you should ask. This is exactly what IFL does, who happen to be today's fabulous video sponsor. So this is the IFL limited edition Bulova Super Seville Risky Riches, a playful little tribute to the relationship between riches and taking risks. One of my favorite things about IFL is that they take watches I already love and make them into wearable pieces of pop art. So we have a dapper gentleman spinning fortune's wheel where risk becomes rich. It's a fun reminder that sometimes good outcomes require risk and stepping out of one's comfort zone. Looking at the watch itself, the Bulova Super Seville is awesome, with a case diameter of 42mm by 37.5mm and a thickness of just 10.5mm. Stainless steel material, 30 meters of water resistance, and powered by the Bulova Precisionist NM10 high-frequency quartz, creating a buttery sweep. This watch is genuinely great. Solid specifications, but with IFL, it's all about the dial and the customization. So, hand-painted, beautifully done, while also being fun and whimsical. I should say as well, these are very limited. Only 300 pieces are being made worldwide, and it has just gone live right now. If you want to check this watch out or anything else IFL is doing, go click the link that is in my description. Use my link so they know I sent you. And thank you so much to IFL for sponsoring this video. Back on your questions, why is coaxial superior? First, Omega did not make it. Second, they make it harder to service. Third, it seems to make watches thicker. Okay, so for anyone who isn't as into the deep weeds, coaxial is an escapement system invented by one of the greatest watchmakers of all time, George Daniels, in 1976. It is the biggest departure from the Swiss lever escapement that I can think of, and it was designed to eliminate sliding friction, reducing the need for lubrication. This new system was rejected pretty much by all of Switzerland, except Omega, who made it a major part of their movement architecture. I could gush all day about how big of a risk this was for Omega, and how big of a deal it was for them to integrate this into their movements and into their cases. But that's real, it's off in the deep weeds. On a more practical note, do most people care about the escapement system when buying a watch? Not really. And I think that's why this system was rejected by so many watchmakers. The cost of R&D and implementing an entirely new escapement mechanism versus how much people care, it's probably not worth it. Now, does coaxial actually make a watch thicker? I've been seeing some people saying online that it doesn't, but it does. It has a complex stacked or layered design for the coaxial components. It makes watches slightly thicker, but in the world of watches, when we're talking millimeters, slightly thicker equals noticeable. German watchmaking is superior to Swiss in the same price range. There is no luxury watch worth the money. Okay, this is a hot take, and I can't say I agree. I think it's really just tastes and preferences. I do think this is true of Nomos. I think this might be the only case where this is true. I can't think of any Swiss brand doing what they're doing. For the rest, I don't know. It's tight. Is Glashütte Original superior to Rolex? I think they're about the same level. It just depends on what the consumer ultimately prioritizes. Same with the higher range. A Lange und Söhne, Moritz Grossman. I think it's more popular to say that they're superior to like Patek Philippe, but as a product, I wouldn't say that's true. I'd say they're level. Just no one likes cheering for Switzerland. No one likes defending Switzerland. It's like cheering for the Yankees. Why do people give Rolex so much love? They make the same 7 or so watches. Boring. Yeah, so you're totally right. No disagreements from me. My only defense would be Rolex isn't trying to be avant-garde or on the cutting edge of technology and design. They do the same 7 things, but do them insanely well. They're not trying to do more or higher complications or push horology forward. They're doing what they do to the best of their ability to the highest quality. If I had to make a comparison, they're Hermes. If you think of Hermes and their bags, it's different variations of the same iconic bags. They don't want to reinvent the handbag, but they want to execute it perfectly. I think this is Rolex. This is the best way to think of Rolex. What is the coolest watch you've ever seen? I'm going to give a pretty unexpected answer here. The coolest watch I've ever seen was a pocket watch at Somlow's in London. Daniel Somlow showed us a pocket watch that was owned by Napoleon Bonaparte's brother. The Bonapartes were major clients of Abraham Louis Breguet, and this was a Breguet pocket watch. The story goes that Napoleon was famous for making these long, lofty speeches, and he hated it when people would check their watches during his speeches. So Breguet designed this. It's almost like a braille watch. There are these grooves along the outside of the case and an arrow hand. So if you could reach in and feel in your pocket, you could feel the time using these indicators, and thus know how long Napoleon has been droning on for. Without him knowing that you secretly checked the time, he would be none the wiser. Far and away the coolest watch I've had the pleasure of seeing. Why buy a current model over a neo-vintage, which are far more affordable / have character? I think this is something a lot of collectors are asking right now and opting for neo-vintage instead. And I'm in this boat too. My most worn watch is a neo-vintage Seamaster Diver 300. A lot of the watches I want to buy in 2026 are either vintage or neo-vintage. Like I want an older Santos, an older Longines, and a neo-vintage ALS 1815. Do you like Panerai? Would you buy one? I like Panerai a lot. I feel like I'm always cheering for them. And funny enough, I'm so close to buying a Luminor Due, 38 millimeters. I think it is so charming, but the water resistance is so weird, only being at 50 meters. I have a colleague who wears a Rolex GMT root beer, never sets the time. It bothers me. Am I right? Okay, so your struggle has just become my struggle because this is going to bother me too. There's a very real part of me that wants to say, oh, just let them live their lives. It's their watch. Who really cares? Does it affect you, Brittany, if they don't set the time? But it's the fact that it's a GMT. It is the most time-tellingest watch. It has an extra hand so you can tell more times. The whole thing with this is telling times. You know when people say, watches are just jewelry for men? I never agree with this sentiment, but this might be the only time where this is true. Who is your favorite F1 team for 2026 constructors and your favorite driver to win? Oh yes, I was hoping a Formula 1 question would come soon. If you follow this channel, you know this isn't a watches channel. This is a Formula 1 channel disguised as a watches channel. Yeah, 2026. I am so gassed up for this season. Pun intended, pun always intended. I'm a McLaren girly, so I would love to see them do well again. The new regulations hit, and I think Mercedes will do really well. It will play to a lot of their strengths. I mean, everyone wants to see Ferrari do well. When it's new regulations time, there's usually one team who adapts really well, and they're leagues ahead of everyone until a few years later when everyone catches up and figures out how to play this new game. I could see Mercedes coming back to the top if their drivers are ready and kick things up to the next level. Is Kimi ready? I hope he is. This could be the real test. And I mean, Red Bull is never out of the mix. Max Verstappen is a force of nature. I'm waffling. Official prediction. Red Bull is back, baby. Red Bull is going to win the constructors and Max will be World Drivers' Champion again. These aren't my favorite teams. This isn't what I want to see happen, but I think it's realistic. Papaya will give a fierce opposition. They'll be second. Third is going to be Mercedes. Ferrari's greatest adversary will be Ferrari. The Adrian Newey effect will kick in for Aston Martin in 2027-2028. Anyways, guys, this was fun. I have so many questions here. I might just do a part 2 right now. If you have any other questions you'd like me to answer, comment down below, or any hot takes you want me to react to. I love these styles of videos. Thank you so much for sending your questions through. I like these videos because they almost feel conversational. We're kind of collaborating and making a video together. It's awesome. Thank you to IFL for sponsoring this video. Thank you to you for your viewership. And thank you to the Pope tier patrons. Oh yeah, get their names on the screen. Hello, bonjour, Pope tier patrons. Hello, all tier patrons. Thank you so much for supporting my weird little channel. I am blessed with the best patrons ever. Thank you. You keep this work financially viable for me. And I have the best online community in the world. You guys rock. I hope you keep enjoying the content we do here. Even if you don't, I hope you keep enjoying watches forever. They're awesome. You're awesome. And thank you.